You ever have one of those weeks where you wake up and realize you're living in someone else's sitcom? Because honestly, that's what my life felt like for a while. Except the laugh track was missing and nobody was handing out popcorn. I thought I'd left all the drama behind when I bought my little slice of suburbia in Phoenix, Arizona, hoping for some peace, a patch of grass, a fence to keep the world out. Turns out, the only thing that fence kept out was my own sense of security. The joke's on me, right? I didn't move here for chaos. I wanted those cliché mornings with coffee on the porch, afternoons grilling burgers, evenings when my nephews could throw a football around the yard without worrying if some stranger would drop in. But somehow, my fence became a revolving door, not for stray dogs or wild kids, but for a guy who was supposed to be protecting the neighborhood, Colin Dresner, one of the HOA's patrol officers. You know, the ones who drive around with authority stitched on their sleeves, telling everyone they're just keeping us safe. Yeah, that guy. At first, I figured maybe I was seeing things. The first time I caught Colin climbing down the other side of my fence while I was at the grill, I just stared at him, mouth half open, spatula dangling, wondering if I was on some hidden camera show. "Hey," I called out, "is there a problem?" He didn't even flinch, just tightened his belt and muttered, "Just checking the area." No apology, no real explanation, like hopping into people's backyards was part of the standard patrol. I let it slide. Maybe that's how things worked in a gated community. Maybe the rules were different here. Turns out, the rules were different for him, because he kept doing it. Not once, not twice, but so often that I started feeling like I should charge him rent. I found out at a block party I wasn't the only one. My neighbor Janine whispered that she'd seen Colin hop fences just to shave a few steps off his route. Henry from down the street just laughed. Nobody complains, because every time they do, the HOA says it's for our safety. Safety, yeah, right. More like convenience. I'd worked my whole life to buy this house. Every overtime shift, every penny pinched, all for that little yard. Suddenly, it felt like anybody with a badge could just stroll in, no questions asked. I tried to be civil. One Tuesday night, after catching Colin red-handed again, I called out from my porch, "Colin, you can't keep doing this. This is my property." He turned, all cold and dismissive, and shot back, "I'm authorized to patrol the community. Don't get in the way." That's when I knew he wasn't going to stop. I complained, of course. That's what you do, right? I called the HOA president, Leonard Briggs. Nice enough guy, if you like talking to voicemail messages. When I finally got him, he said, "Our officers have discretion. If you've got a problem, put it in writing." And that's what I did again and again. "Dear HOA, please tell your patrol officer to stop treating my backyard like his shortcut. My family is uncomfortable. Sincerely, Dorian Price." All I got back was, "Your concern has been noted. The patrol team has discretion in their routes." Discretion, a fancy word for we're not doing a damn thing. So I sat with my sister, Renee, over dinner, venting while my nephews played in the next room. She listened, then put her fork down and said, "You can't let this go on, Dor. The boys were in the yard when that man climbed over. What if they start thinking it's normal for strangers to show up in their space?" She was right, of course. It wasn't about the fence anymore. It was about what you're willing to put up with, about dignity, and about what kind of example you're setting. But still, I wanted to be fair. One last time, I called Leonard. "This has to stop, Leonard. If your officer needs to patrol, fine, but not through my yard." He gave me the same runaround. "If you want to file a formal complaint, go ahead. But I can't micromanage my staff." You know what I mean? That's the sound of a man who's never had his Saturday ruined by someone else's boots in his grass. By the time summer hit, I'd lost track of how many times Colin had trespassed. I kept it civil, emails, phone calls, even speaking at the next HOA meeting. I stood up, laid it all out in front of the board, told them my family didn't feel safe. Janine backed me up. Leonard just waved us off. Our officers need flexibility. Later, outside the meeting, Colin himself cornered me and sneered, "You really think whining in there is going to stop me?" It was humiliating, honestly, and it lit something in me I didn't know I had. But the final straw? It happened with my nephews right there. That Saturday was blazing hot, the kind where even the birds look for shade. The boys were playing catch, laughing, sneakers pounding the dirt. I thought, this is it. This is why I bought this house. And then, thud, Colin dropped into my yard like he owned the place. The boys froze, eyes wide. "Colin," I shouted, nearly knocking over my chair. "What the hell are you doing?" "Routine patrol," he said, like he was reciting a script. "Just making sure everything's in order." "In order?" My nephews were shaking. "Uncle Dor, can we go inside?" One of them whispered. "Yes," I said, "go inside now." I stared Colin down, told him, "This is the last time you pull this." He laughed, said, "What are you going to do? Cry to Briggs at the next meeting." That was it for me. No more being brushed aside. That night, Renee stopped by to pick up the boys. They didn't want to play outside anymore. She told me, "Don't meet arrogance with weakness. Make a move that forces respect." So I sat in the yard, staring at that damn fence, and decided, if the HOA won't protect me, I'll protect myself. The next morning, over breakfast, I got an idea. I'd seen a show about farm fencing, livestock-grade electric strips. Legal. Safe. Annoying enough to send a message, not dangerous. So I drove to the hardware store, found what I needed, and told the clerk, "I've got a fence problem." He just nodded, said, "Most folks buying these are trying to keep out more than animals. Just mount it legally, mark it with a sign, and you're good." By sunset, it was installed. Discreet, right on the top of the gate, warning sign and all. I called Renee. She asked, "A project or a plan?" I said, "A plan. Colin's not getting into this yard again." She warned me, "Men like him don't take embarrassment well. He'll push back." I didn't care. I was done being the quiet one. A few days passed, nothing happened. Then, one Saturday, as I sipped my iced tea on the porch, I saw Colin's patrol truck slow to a crawl out front. He got out, looked around, and headed straight for the fence. I didn't move. He grabbed the top, set his boot in the foothold, crack. That low-voltage strip zapped him hard enough to send him sprawling into my yard, yelping like a dog that got into a hornet's nest. He shot up, red-faced, cursing. "You think you can do this to me? You did it to yourself." I told him, calm as can be. "I warned you. Now you know I'm serious." The neighbors saw, too. Janine peeked through her blinds. Henry called out, "Looks like the patrol got patrolled today." Laughter echoed down the block. Colin stomped back to his truck, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. And just like that, the story spread. Dorian shocked the HOA officer. The guy who strutted around like he owned the place got knocked down by a fence he thought was his shortcut. Of course, the HOA wasn't thrilled. I got a letter, all official, threatening fines for unauthorized electrical equipment. I went to the next meeting, stood up, and told them. I followed the law, posted a sign. I did this because Colin has been trespassing for months. I complained. Nothing changed, so I protected my home. People spoke up, finally. Even Janine, from the back. "It's not just him. I've seen Colin cut through other yards." Leonard tried to push back, said I was putting the community at risk, but for once, the neighbors weren't buying it. Colin, sitting there with his hand bandaged, jumped up. "You humiliated me. You assaulted a security officer doing his job." I shot back. "You weren't doing your job. You were harassing my family." Suddenly, everyone was talking. Some cheered. Others looked uncomfortable. But the tide had turned. When I got home, Renee called. "They're trying to make you the villain, Dor. Don't let them twist it." But I'd already made up my mind. If they wanted a fight, they'd get one. After that, Colin changed his tactics. He started circling my house, parking his truck nearby, just watching. One night, I caught him shining a flashlight at my gate at 2 a.m. I installed cameras, one facing the driveway, one at the gate. I showed Janine the footage. Colin creeping around, sometimes reaching for the fence, sometimes just standing there. She said, "He's not trying to patrol, he's trying to scare you." I told her, "It's not working." But the tension was real. The neighborhood was split. Some thought I was a hero, others thought I was stirring up trouble. The air felt charged, waiting for something to break. That something came when Henry knocked on my door one night, handed me a flash drive. "Got something you should see." His garage camera had caught Colin climbing my fence, sometimes in broad daylight, sometimes late at night, once even lighting a cigarette in my backyard. "Proof," Henry said. "He can't talk his way out of this." At the next HOA meeting, the room was packed. I played the footage for everyone, clip after clip of Colin trespassing, abusing his authority, making a joke out of our boundaries. The board couldn't ignore it anymore. Leonard announced, "Officer Dresner is suspended from patrol duties effective immediately." Finally, some vindication. But you know, men like Colin don't disappear quietly. The rumors flew. Some said he'd sue. Others said I'd gone too far. But most people thanked me, told me I'd stood up when nobody else would. A few days later, Leonard came by in person. We reviewed everything. Colin's been relieved of his duties permanently. The fines are rescinded. I'll admit, we mishandled this. It wasn't triumph I felt, more like a release, like a knot finally untied. Renee brought the boys by that night. They played football in the yard, their laughter ringing out like before. I watched from the porch, thinking, that's all I wanted, for them to feel safe again. The HOA hired new patrol officers, set up a real hotline, trained everyone better. The neighbors started talking openly about respect and boundaries. At the next block party, Janine raised a toast to Dorian for reminding us that silence doesn't fix anything. You've got to speak up or wire up. Everyone laughed, even me. Don't try electricity first, I joked, but sometimes you have to make sure your voice is heard. That's what I want you to remember. Respect isn't optional. If you let arrogance walk all over you, sooner or later, you lose more than your yard. You lose your dignity. But if you stand firm, even when nobody's listening, you teach others to do the same. So, if this story hits home, drop your thoughts in the comments. Where do you draw the line between safety and overreach? What would you have done in my shoes? Let's talk about it. Because silence lets arrogance grow, but courage sets the limit. And maybe, just maybe, we all need to set that limit for ourselves sometimes.